Hey everybody, this is a video for AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, and we're going to take a quick look as well at the SMH, the Semiconductors Index. This is to start July 2019 and second half of the year and Q3. This is the daily chart, a little bit closer up here, and let's just take a quick look at what happened on Friday. You can see Friday was a bearish engulfing day with a close below the 20-day simple moving average, with the market moving out and making a big buy program at the end of the day. Instead, this stock was making a bearish engulfing and working its way lower. I don't know if maybe part of the reason for this was the fact that Johnny Ives left Apple. That was announced on Thursday night, and that is considered you know, a, a move by Apple to show that it's really moving towards a services-oriented company away from a hardware-making company, although obviously it's going to continue to make the hardware. But if AMD is a huge component of iPhones and so on and so forth, then obviously if Apple's going to be turning their business more towards services, then AMD is going to take a hit over that. The entire semiconductors index would take a hit over that. Well, let's take a look at the entire semiconductors index before we dive in too deep on AMD. And you can see that the entire semiconductors index is playing out an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Here is the left shoulder, here is the head and the bottom, and then here is the right shoulder. And the breakout point for this may have already happened and played out, or we are just on our way up to it. If we can get the SMH to move out about above 115, then we could have, and then we would need to get a move above this 120.71 high that it made about a week ahead of the S&P's first all-time high in the year that it made on May 1st. If it can move above 115 and above 121 or so and keep on moving up, then it'll pull the entire index, all the components up with it. So that's what the overall index is doing. It looks a lot more bullish in that it's in that pattern. But then when you look close up here, you can see that it sold off and it closed on its low for the day on Friday, though it is not engulfing around what had been going on Thursday. But you can see it sold off on Friday, and it had been on a move up with some gaps up during the course of the week. So I really think this is the Apple news. If the Apple news can sort of go away and not, sort of work its way into the mind of the market as an idea that that hardware as a growth industry is really going away, and that we need to take our money out of things like semiconductors and put it into the communications ETF instead, which works a lot more around things like Google and Apple with the services thing, rather than Apple as a hardware's component company, which is going to be negative, against semiconductors. So anyway, and also if this trade deal is really bogus and that the tariffs are going to keep on ratcheting up with China, the semiconductors index is the one that takes it on the chin first. And then AMD, of course, is a huge component of that. So let's get back to the point of this video, which is AMD. Okay, so when we go in a little bit closer here and we look at AMD as opposed to what we just saw on the semiconductors, we see that AMD is doing a classic double top pattern. And if it were to come down and break its 100-day simple moving average, fill this gap and move lower, and in fact break its 200-day, it has truly formed a double top, and it is headed much lower, and it will be targeting a test at minimum of the low that it made in December. Okay, so that's the big picture here. It's made a double top. Here was its high in 2018, sell. And here is that sell program. So it was a little look above its all-time, I don't know if that was its all-time high, but huge multi-year high that it made back in 2018, has sold off with lots of gaps down below its 10-day, closed below its 20-day, a bounce back up to try and regain its 10-day, but rejects there, closes 3 in a row below its 20-day, but holding on to its 50-day, and then here is a gap up on Wednesday, follow through on Thursday, but then a bearish engulfing and a give it all back sort of thing on Friday. And like I said, I think that is tied into the Apple news close below the 20-day in a bearish engulfing state below what it did on Friday. Okay, so below what it did on Thursday, I should say. So if we come in tomorrow and it continues lower, it's going to fill this gap then to Wednesday's close. Test the 10-day. If that breaks, it's going to go ahead then and fill this gap then to Tuesday's close. There's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Fill its gap to Tuesday's close and test its 50-day. Okay, if it does all this and it holds its 50-day, then it is a possible buy right here. The market will save it at its 50-day, it will reverse and it will go back up. Okay, if it erases these losses that it made on Friday and it comes in, it needs to trade up above Friday's high and move on out, and it needs to work its way towards this high that it made up at 34.30, and it must make a new high, put in closes above this 34 handle and make some consolidation and then begin to move up. Otherwise, it is forming a double top. Okay, I hope that helped you out understanding where AMD is at. If you have any questions, just send me a direct message.